Welcome back to Open House with, well, Corey James is not here today, so it's just me, Mark Siwiec, our 200th episode, and unfortunately, Corey is not here to celebrate because, well, he has two kids under the age of 5, and they've passed yet another. This is something that, if you've been following for a while, November, December, January, February, March, we're used to Corey being at home because one of the kids are sick. But here we are in the middle of June, and so feel better, bud. Hope all is well. Our guest today is going to be my good friend Ron Pluta, and we're going to talk to Ron for a few minutes about just so many things. He's got the Pluta Cancer Center. He's very active in Oak Hill, and we're going to get to know him a little bit better, and maybe perhaps a little bit about his family. But first, I want to talk to you a little bit about Jerome Powell. So the FOMC, the Federal Open Markets Committee, met this past Tuesday and Wednesday, a scheduled meeting, as they always do, to talk about the federal funds rate and whether or not we should be increasing, whether or not they should be increasing the federal funds rate, decreasing it, or keeping it steady. And to no one's surprise, the FOMC kept the federal funds rate even. No increase, no decrease. Now, if you follow politics, if you follow economics, I think that the president said that that Jerome Powell is a loser and a dumbass, and I think there were a few other things thrown in there. Personally, I don't feel that way, and here's why. Inflation could be ticking up over the course of the next few months as a result of chaos imposed by tariffs. But then again, maybe not. The GDP may be slowing, but then again, maybe not. There's just a lot of uncertainty out there. And because of DOGE-related employment cuts, cuts to federal employees, there aren't as many economists scattered throughout the country giving us really good data. So I'm in support of Jerome Powell and his decision just to keep things steady over the course of the next few months. And let's get more data. We have plenty of data coming our way over the course of the next few months, 2-3 months. We'll have a better sense as to whether or not some of these proposed or some of the prophesied spending cuts are going to impact the economy, whether or not tariffs are going to increase inflation, and Jerome Powell can make a decision at that point in time. Now, personally, and of course, I sell real estate for a living. Of course, I'm really hoping that there's going to be a cut in the federal funds rate, but we won't know that for a short while. So anyway, that's my update, and I've got nobody here to bounce it off of, but I am instead going to turn it over to my good friend Ron. How are you doing today, bud?
Excellent. That was very interesting what you just said.
Well, there you go. You didn't know that about me, did you? I actually know a little bit about, but don't ask me anything too. I mean, I sound really good,
Yeah.
but the knowledge is about that deep. So.
Well, you know the housing market.
There we go. And that's why we try to follow the stock market. We try to follow the economy in the way that we do.
Exactly.
So. But you also know about, I mean, I wasn't planning on going here, but you know a little bit about real estate.
A little bit, but that's a business side of things, but then you also have your volunteer side of things.
Yeah, well, exactly. So, we can go down any number. I mean, we've known each other for a while. I've always been so interested in that. You're a guy who seems to, and sorry, but here it is. You're a guy who seems to have it all.
Oh.
You've got a great wife, you've got great kids, great grandkids. You're involved civically. Pluta Cancer Center is just this incredible organization. And you've got your family involved in it. And then, of course, you're involved with so many things that are going on over at Oak Hill.
Yes.
Why don't we start with Pluta Cancer? And tell us, it was founded, I actually just found this out earlier today. It was founded back in, is it 1975?
Yes. By my father and his two brothers. They started around the 1975. It was kind of a give back to the community. Their father had cancer, Wassel Pluta, died at a very young age and went through, at that time, was horrific kind of treatments.
I bet.
It was really the treatment that pretty much killed him versus the cancer, but it was just so horrible. So they, at their time in their life when they were able to give back to the community, they decided to start up a cancer center for Genesee Hospital, which didn't have one at the time.
Wow.
And if you remember Genesee Hospital, there was a Genesee Hospital, Rochester Regional Health,
Yep.
and there was a URMC. So the Genesee Hospital didn't have a cancer center, so they started out with a what would have been a cobalt type treatment versus radiation treatment.
Wait, cobalt?
Yeah, that was it was very difficult type of a treatment where you radiated most of the body instead of where now it is so specific to the origin, they can pinpoint treatment to a very minor, very minute area of the body. So it came a long way. So that was around the late 70s. And then if you remember now, this is kind of an opportune time that I'm sitting here. It's about 25 years ago, almost 25 years ago, the Genesee Hospital fell into some financial trouble, and they were going to close the doors on the hospital. And so many patients and doctors and nurses that worked at that time was the Pluta Cancer Center, part of the Genesee Hospital, came forward and said, what can you do to save this? What can you do to keep this open? Because it was going to close. And the Rochester Regional was going to take over all the doctors and nurses and kind of spread them out amongst their hospital. And, we were just contributors to the organization. We had nothing to do with a hospital or a cancer center. And after looking into things, we had an attorney come by and we started looking into things, and we went to the state and we said, you really can't close the cancer center. People are in the middle of their treatments, and you can't just stop and move them to another cancer center because there's a lot of technology and it has to take place. So the state granted us a temporary stay at the Genesee, and we continued to treat our patients there. All the time, we were working on obtaining our own license as a cancer center.
I'm trying to envision this. So you're operating at full speed, dozens of doctors, nurses, patients, and I would imagine little by little, room by room, floor by floor, Genesee Hospital is closing down around you.
Exactly, you're exactly right. They were every department in the hospital closed, and the state mandated that they kept the cancer center open because of our efforts. And so you went over to the Genesee Hospital right around the corner from here on Alexander Street. The whole building was dark, and you'd walk down dark hallways to find the cancer center, which was lit up. And we worked pretty much under those circumstances for about 6 to 8 months. The New York State granted us our own license.
Wow.
So at that time, we became the first and only non-for-profit independent cancer center in New York State. And here we are sitting with the cancer center, having no idea how to run one. And, I think when it all hit, we said, what did we get ourselves into?
So let me just back up so that I've got a clarity. So when Genesee Hospital was up and running, your cancer center, Pluta Cancer, was more or less being run as a result of the president of Genesee Hospital at that point in time. So all of a sudden, the hospital closes, and so who's running the place during that 6 to 8 month period of time?
It was hit and go daily. It was the type of thing where we found out on a Friday that they were closing, and they wanted to shut us down 3-4 weeks later.
Dear God.
And you just couldn't operate that way. And our patients were coming to us, tears in their eyes, and saying, you just can't close the cancer center. So we were able to keep it open. The Genesee, or the Rochester Regional at the time that took over all the other departments, gave us about 1.5 years to vacate the building. We had our own license. We had to buy all the equipment back from them.
Oh my God!
And we retained 3 of the cancer doctors and pretty much all the staff. And a lot of these were single mothers, the nurses, providing the care, and they stayed with us because they believed in what we were doing, and they wanted to stay together as a unit. So we ran it for about another 1.5 years in the Genesee Hospital, the only department open. Then we built a new cancer center out in Henrietta on Calkins Road, where it stands today, and moved there. So this is back in 2001. So we moved to the new location about 2003 and operated in Henrietta till about 2012 when it was starting to become a little bit difficult. Our reimbursements that we were getting from the HMOs just didn't match what it was costing us to deliver. The drugs were costing us more to buy
Sure, yeah.
than the HMOs were reimbursing us. And we found out quickly that it was primarily because we were an independent, small cancer center, and we really needed to be part of a hospital.
And an economy of scale, being able to buy in bulk, that type of thing.
Yeah,
Is it 350B? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was. It became a part of our initiative. Then was we have to do this for our patients. We have to merge with a hospital situation.
And at this point in time, as you're running for those 10, 11, 12 years, you've got an executive director who's running the hospital or who's running the center.
Yes. We had hired our own independent people to run the hospital or run the cancer center for us, and we continued to raise funds for it. But it got to a point where we were raising funds to keep payroll going and paying our bills, and that's why we were raising our funds. And this is not the mission that we originally started for. We wanted to give the money back to the patients and help them with their finances and things like that. So around 2012, we talked to the two hospitals that were in the organizations in the community, the URMC and the Rochester Regional Health at that time. And URMC just was a really good match for us. They appreciated what we were doing. They wanted to keep our mission intact. They loved the care that we were giving to the patients, and they didn't want to disrupt anything. They just wanted to keep us whole and then work with them. So we did. We merged with them in 2012, and instantly, the financial situation turned around. And I'd like to go back to that. At that time, we had about 35 to 40 doctors and nurses and staff working at the cancer center.
Wow.
Today, we have about 140.
Really? Well, that joint you and in Wilmot.
Wilmot has their own section. This is just from the Pluta Cancer Center.
Just your cancer center
Yes.
has that many doctors.
And nurses and staff. So we're up to about 140 total personnel. We are now designated the Pluta Cancer Center Comprehensive Breast Care Center for Wilmot.
Okay.
We are a division of Wilmot Cancer Institute.
Is that what was announced just recently, the $4 million grant, or is that something completely different?
Well,
'Cause I want to get to that in a minute.
That was part of it.
Okay.
It was the initiative to grow, and what we're going to do now is we're going to expand. Wilmot has 10 to 12 satellite locations besides the hospital and ours. They're in Dansville. They're in all different parts. They're in Webster. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the comprehensive breast cancer program to all 12 of their locations eventually, and be able to treat all patients in their local home areas.
That's great.
It's really super. And then the other part of it is the initiative that we wanted to invest in was this integrative oncology, the Integrative Oncology Center that we host now, which we're treating the patient's whole patient. We're not just treating the cancer. We are treating the cancer, but now we're treating the whole patient. Because when you're going through cancer treatment, you have many, many side effects. And you can imagine, you're tired, you just don't have the energy anymore. You have trouble walking, maybe from the house to the car. There's nutritional problems. If you're treating, maybe a throat cancer or something like that, you have nutrition problems. The chemotherapies are making you sick. You have pain because of the treatment. So
Well,
now,
and you haven't even touched on the emotional turmoil.
we do.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so with the Integrative Oncology Center, it's part of the building. We offer all these services. We have pain management, acupuncture, we have massage therapy, we have nutritionists, we have art therapy to get your mind off of things, And we also support financial needs for our patients. So this is what our original mission was 25 years ago, was to support the patient and not go towards paying bills. So now we're back to where we were originally, supporting patients. We had 1,200 patients go through the Integrative Oncology Center last year, and they speak so highly of how it helped them get through their treatment emotionally and physically and hopefully pain-free and so forth. So it's really become now there's studies how this affects your treatment overall. If your body is feeling good, it helps you.
Well, just a few moments ago, you were talking about patients having to walk down the dark hallways of Genesee Hospital in order to get to. And the little that I know, I've had several friends who have passed as a result of cancer, and it really does take an emotional toll.
Yeah.
And I would imagine just the process of walking through a depressing hallway is probably not. And to think now that they've got all of these other services that you're offering, what does this cost per year? And so let's talk a little bit about, that's got to cost a lot of money.
Yep.
And you've got this great event that takes place every September. So walk us through some of the financials, if you would.
Well, yeah, and thank you very much because you attended.
Oh my God.
You attended last year. And
so you know that Duffy and I, every other week throughout the year, we're attending these events. And it was so great because there's normally a conflict in September of every year that prevents us, and we finally just said, you know what, we have to attend this, and we're so glad we did.
Well,
we're
we're very
looking forward to this
appreciative.
coming September, but it does cost a lot of money. So talk to us a little bit about the financials of what it costs and how much you're raising every September for this incredible event.
We support all the programs at the Integrative Oncology Center through the foundation, and it at a tune of maybe $300,000 a year. And that does not cost the patients anything. They come and go through all those treatments we said, the massage therapy, the acupuncture, all that. It's cost the patients nothing. There are integrative oncology centers in all around the country, but they charge the patients.
Sure.
Ours are at no cost to the patient.
But did you just say it costs only $300,000 to do?
Well, just for the integrative oncology part of
Okay.
it, and then we do financial support.
Okay.
For patients, which, a lot of patients that are going through the center might be a single mom, 2-3 children at home, and they can't work.
Wow.
And while you're going through treatment, they just don't have the energy. They can't work physically. So, time to time, they can't afford maybe their rent on their apartment, or their car breaks down, or their refrigerator breaks down. So we help them financially get through those times while they're in treatment. Some patients can't afford they can't afford gas to come to get their appointments. It's when you're going through the treatment, sometimes you're there every day, and it takes a toll on the body, personally and mentally. So we try to help them go through and manage all that through their whole treatment process. And we also will take care of their caregiver.
Really?
And, which is also very emotional on the caregiver.
Sure.
That if it's a husband and wife or whatever couple, we will also work on the caregiver too to help them get through the treatment. So it's a very positive experience. And
how much are you raising in September at this event?
at the Emerald Ball,
Yeah.
hopefully we'll raise about $500,000 at the Emerald Ball, and that's going to be on September 6th.
Great.
At the Wegmans Conference Center out in where is that, in Gates? In Gates.
Yeah, yes,
And,
exactly.
if anybody has any interest in that, I can give you the phone number, and they can call
Go ahead,
and,
what is
and
it?
attend it. It's 585-487-0608, and, everybody's welcome to attend. And,
It is.
and it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. It's so well attended. And again, we go to these things all the time. And this is one that we actually look forward to because it is just so well done. everything about it, including the engagement and the involvement of your family. So let's talk a little bit about that. This thing is started by your father, two of your uncles, then it passes down to you and your sisters, who are
Yes.
still engaged and involved.
Yes.
And then I think the kids, the next generation, are also involved. So
Yeah,
talk a little bit about
we're
that.
starting to get the next generation involved because I've been doing this now for 25 years, trying to keep it running. And the Emerald Ball is actually, I think this is their 26th year. It started 1 year before the closing of the Genesee Hospital. It was very, very small at that time, and we're just trying to raise money, to help some of the patients, some patients' financial needs. But now it's gotten to a point where we're really expanding what we offer.
I mean,
to
how
our
many people
patients.
attended last year? It must have been
It
like
was
400,
about
500?
500.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
thought. I mean,
yeah.
and again,
Yeah.
I mean, you're just getting to the point where you can't find a space large enough. So
No, and it's funny. Well, your lead-in was Oak Hill Country Club, and that's where we were holding it for many, many years at Oak Hill, and they would have that tent that they put up in the back.
Awesome tent.
So now Oak Hill is going through a major master plan, and they're building a permanent ballroom. And so the tent will not be in existence anymore.
all right, let's put a pin in that one because I want to talk about the kids and the next generation because you are really, there are some storied families here in Rochester who've been engaged in philanthropy. The Wegmans. I mean, the obvious. And just passing the baton from generation to generation. So, is there an appointed member of the family every year who's responsible for overseeing or chairing the event, or is it just a group effort?
It's more just a group effort. I think, you probably have experienced the same thing. I've learned, to do this from my parents. My father and mother were always involved in the community. Well, El Siegel Center or whatever charity event that was around, they were always involved, and I think it got passed down, and now we're trying to pass that down to our kids, and so they attend events,
Yeah.
and they were holding some events of their own for their age bracket, which they're in their 40-ish now and late 30s, and they would hold their own events for their age bracket. They had a white on green party a couple years ago where they had a dinner, everybody dressed in white out, and then they had out at the golf course, and they ate out in one of the grassy areas. So it's a white on green party, and then they do some other things. But now they're getting to a point where they're going to have to start replacing us.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've been the chair of the foundation board for 25 years, and now you gotta step aside and let somebody else take over.
Is that going to happen anytime soon?
Yeah, I don't know. We're working on it.
Okay.
We're working on
All
it.
right. But you've got some great community members who sit on that board.
We have a wonderful board.
Doug's
Many
on
people
there.
that you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Doug Embledge, Mike Goonan,
Yep.
Willie Strasberg, my sister Barbara Pluta Randall, Mary, my wife Mary, Steve McCluskey,
Oh, yeah,
Steve.
Steve. Yeah, of course.
And
Actually, you mentioned Mary. I got to say, let's go back because we're talking, I'm so focused on the finance. But one of the things that really has impressed me is how many people last year at the ball.
about 500.
But of those 500 people, how many of them were approaching Mary afterward, or how many times Mary was recognized from the podium? Your family is not just raising money for this organization, but Mary's there, rolling up her sleeves
Yeah.
day in and day out,
Yep.
holding people's hands as they're going through transfusions
Yep,
and infusions.
Well, unfortunately, because we're treating cancer, and we have many friends now that are going through that themselves, and we have a good friend. His wife is being treated there. She comes in for her treatment every 2 to 3 weeks. So you feel good because you're helping your friends go through a process, and if you can take some of the stress or some of the pain away, you feel good about it, and it's in a weird way, it's rewarding that way.
Oh yeah.
And it's a terrible disease, and you don't want anybody that you know to go through that type of thing, but it's going to touch all of us.
Sure.
Somewhere along the line, and if we can help them, that's what our goal is.
Well, you mentioned, how nice it is to, for her and for others to help friends. But listen, you're being very modest. She's
Yeah.
rolling up her sleeves. She's
Yep.
going in there day in and day out, and she's helping her friends, yes.
Yep.
But she's helping complete strangers day in and
Yep.
day out.
Yep.
Like, hats off to Mary. I mean,
Yeah.
like, that's,
Oh, yeah.
that's
It's
incredibly noble.
Yeah, it just keeps going. It just keeps happening.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's switch over. You touched on it a few minutes ago. Bring us up to speed. What's happening with Oak? Well, actually, I'll leave it to you. What is your involvement in Oak Hill? I mean, I'll tee it up by saying that a few years ago, you were the point person for the PGA when the PGA rolled into town, and all eyes were on Rochester. So that's an esteemed and privileged role. And you, by the way, you crushed it. You made the club and this community look really great. What's your current involvement?
Current involvement, right now I'm kind of retired from Oak Hill, management and running things, but the 2023 PGA Championship that was hosted in May, 2 years ago, it took probably 2 years of planning to get to that point. We had over 80 committees, thousands of volunteers. We had over 200,000 spectators come that week.
My God.
Even though we probably would have reached a little bit more if it didn't rain on Saturday, but we got a little bit of rain on Saturday. It was a wonderful undertaking. It was about we figured over $100 million, over $200 million
Wow.
of economic impact in the Rochester community. So, the businesses, the hotels, restaurants, everybody felt somewhere along the line, they felt that. And so it's just huge for the community. And it's, everybody always asks, when are you going to host another one? When are you going to go another one? And, you're always trying, but once you host one, you got to go right back in and you got to start working on another one.
So is there one planned?
We're already working. No, we don't have one, but you have to start working with the PGA of America and try to get another one to come. But it's so competitive. There's, $200 million economic impact to your community. So you can imagine
Yeah, sure.
how many communities across the country want to host these events.
Yeah.
Because it just keeps growing. So. And there's very many country clubs around that are quite capable of doing this. So you have to work your way back in, and every time it's just not given back to you again.
So I was reading just a couple of weeks ago, Golf Digest actually named, so they had the 100 best courses in the country. And so I'm reading through, I'm like, I wonder if Oak Hill made it on here. Number 20.
Yeah, you did your research.
Well, this is like something that's just like, I read 3-4 newspapers every day, et cetera. That's a big deal.
We were 21 and moved to 20. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, when you stop and think about it, everybody knows, even if you're not into golf, Augusta National.
Yep.
Yeah, you know those courses in Pebble Beach, famous Pebble Beach.
Yep.
Those courses are always in the top 5. So there's almost 1 through 5 or 1 through 10. You're never going to penetrate those numbers, no matter what we do. So to go from 21 to 20 is huge, and that's on the heels of 2019. We did major renovation. Andrew Green came in, who's a very well-known golf course architect, and he tried to bring our golf course back to the original designs of Donald Ross.
They referenced this in the article. Yeah.
Right. So he did a wonderful job, and it was before the 2023 PGA. So the whole world saw our golf course after renovation, and it my allergies are making my eyes
Oh my
tear.
God, I've been suffering through allergies for the past 2 weeks. Finally, the past 2 days, I'm finally starting to feel better.
So in 2019, the Oak Hill Country Club hired Andrew Green, to come in and look at the East course and try to redesign and bring it back to the original Donald Ross designs. So we changed 2 holes or 3 holes, pretty much completely changed 3 holes, and then redid a lot of the bunkering, changed bunkers, sand traps, and greens, tried to get them back to the original designs, and they did a fabulous job. And in 2023, with the PGA of America, came to Oak Hill, and we hosted the PGA Championship. The whole world saw the renovation, and I think that had a big part of moving from number 21 in the world down to 20.
Well, in this list, I mean, and I know very, very little. Please don't judge me. I've never once golfed a day in my life. Never once. But as I'm reading through this list, I start at 100, and I finally get my way into number 20, and I'm looking, I'm like, oh my, there were like some big name clubs, like, world-renowned clubs that you beat out. So congratulations. That was remarkable.
Right. And at the same time, Oak Hill Country Club itself, besides the golf course, is a platinum club.
Well, all right, so all right, I want to talk about the renovations, but I want to go back to the PGA for just a second. There had to have been some, can you share with us like just 1 or 2 behind-the-scene moments that would just shock people? Like, oh my God, I can't believe that's something that happened.
Well, I'll tell you a couple of funny stories. Well, as you know, Josh Allen is a big golf fan, and he was almost there, I would say, if the golf course was there 7 days, I bet he was there 4 days.
Wow.
And the big name golfers, you got your Tiger Woods. He wasn't there, but you got your Rory McIlroys and so forth. They're on the golf course. And when Josh Allen showed up, it was so funny because kids that spotted him would run across the fairways to go find him. And he was like a superstar showing up.
Well, he really is.
And he is. And he did a couple of nice things that were organized for young people. Kind of building character for young wherever they came from, the city or wherever. And the city schools would bring them in, and he talked to them, about yourself and and building your own self-esteem and working hard for things, and no matter where you are, you can do this type of thing. And it was excellent. And a couple of times, there was some small kids around, and he would pick them up and hold them up for pictures. And he, and I met him, and somebody of his stature in the country or in the world, he is so down to earth. And when he talked, and I remember this talking to him, he looked right at me. I mean, well, he looked down at me. And, I mean,
because you're what? You're 6'2" or something, right? So
me? Yeah, but he's a huge man. But he would look at me and talk to me. And people, sometimes you get people that are pretty famous. They're always looking over to see who's coming up and who they can talk to next. And I noticed that, and I appreciated that. And
he's this guy's capacity for kindness and the physical demand. Have you ever seen the Netflix series Quarterback?
Yes.
Incredible. You look to see, like Patrick Mahomes, what it is that he has to go through day in and day out in order to be the superstar that he is. Whether it's studying playbooks, or whether it's lifting weights, or it's you're out in the field.
Yeah.
You're going through psychological. You're working with your therapist, your physical therapist. You're working with your psychiatrist, your psychologist. Day and grueling, and then you're dealing with fans on top of that.
Right.
And then you also got to be a master of PR and marketing, and if you're a good guy...
And he's 27 years old.
Yeah, and if you're a good guy, then you're also going to be a good humanitarian, and Josh Allen is all that.
Yeah, he's got everything.
Yeah.
He's got everything. And with him attending a lot of the days was Von Miller.
Oh, really?
And Josh Allen is a big... I forget, he's 6'6" or 6'5" himself. But Von Miller he's just a huge man.
A refrigerator.
And he's built. And look at him. His shoulders are huge. And but he just hung out with Josh Allen. They were just like two guys. And when they walked through the golf course, people were looking at them and not the golfers.
That's great.
And it was a little disappointing, but that's how it is.
Disappointing or not? I mean, I think it's just one more. Any other great stories?
From the week, I got to, because of my role, I got to attend the past champions dinner.
Oh.
And that was held on Tuesday night of the champ week, and it was a special dinner that Rayo came in to cook for.
From New York.
Yes,
Italian?
he
Wow.
came in and cooked it for Justin Thomas, who was the chairman or was the champion from before. So kind of like Augusta, where the last year's champion gets to pick the dinner, and the past champions all sit down and eat. So I got to go to that and attend that, and I sat next to, I sat across the table from Brooks Koepka,
Oh, really?
who ended up winning the
Yeah.
championship. And so on Tuesday night, and he's a superstar too. He plays on the LIV tour, and but he couldn't have been nicer to me too. We didn't talk about golf. He likes to boat and he likes to fish, so we talked a little bit about that. And very, very down to earth.
That's great.
You have all these different. When you meet somebody in person and you see them on television, you think differently about them. But
Sure.
then when you talk to them, they're just like us, and they have nice conversations.
All right, before we pivot to renovations to the club, and we'll finish up there, everybody, for weeks leading up to, there was so much speculation about which national celebrities were landing here in Rochester, and everybody was very, very hot. So can you just rattle off a few names that we may not know about, and then we'll talk a little bit about the renovations?
Well, I'm going to try to think. The governor came one day.
All right, now, it's celebrities. Come on, give me celebrities. And anybody from Hollywood?
No? Not that I know of.
And no, okay. Recording stars, music? No.
Not that I know of.
Okay. Because
Josh Allen and Von Miller really took center stage, and we had a special detail of state troopers just to stay with them.
I bet.
And try to, when they were on like the second hole and they wanted to go follow somebody on the 15th hole, it was like a caravan of golf carts and things trying to move them around. But other than that, I can't think of any
All
other. They might have been there, but I wasn't.
You're not
privy of
nearly
it.
as interested as I am. All right,
I was probably on a need to know.
there we go. There you
Yeah.
go. All right, let's pivot to the renovation. So you closed down the club about a year ago, and you just reopened a portion of the clubhouse. So walk us through all this.
You're very accurate. Back in September, I think around 1st of September, actually, because we couldn't hold the Emerald Ball there last year. They closed the club down completely and emptied it out, all the furniture, everything, and they started going through. And the part of the master plan was to pick up and take care of a lot of items that were overlooked for years. The boiler, HVAC system, the sprinkler system, the plumbing, a lot of things that you don't see. So there was a lot of maintenance items that they had to take care of. In addition to that, they're going to add on about 12,000 square feet. Two areas. One was a ballroom,
Okay.
a permanent ballroom, which we had a small one, but we always had the tent for large parties.
Well, your small ballroom isn't even really all that small. I mean,
No,
it's a
but
pretty
maybe
big
100
size.
people could attend in there. And then the tent, which would hold up to 400 or almost 500.
Actually, I think I may have attended a wedding with about 500 people.
And then they're going to add on this a more of the what is more of the in now is a casual dining area, and they were going to call that the Donald Ross Pub, with a big bar with TV sets and that kind of thing, a more casual where you can go in in dress jeans and
Armstrong Grill kind of thing.
and eat. So those two areas, the ballroom and the Donald Ross Pub, are still not open. They will be open hopefully in December this year.
Okay.
But the existing clubhouse, which they renovated the inside I think they touched every wall, ceiling. They opened up, they put in new plumbing, they put in new HVAC systems, new sprinkler systems throughout. Pretty much it's a brand new building inside. And at the same time, they changed things around a little bit, new carpeting, new paint, new, everything is brand new. It's like a brand new clubhouse now.
And when you walk in, do you physically?
Yes.
I mean, it was already a gorgeous club.
Yeah.
It's spectacular.
But now it's beautiful. It's really spectacular. They have a new dining room, which we've dined in there now. It's called the 1901 room, more of a formal type setting. Wonderful. The service, the servers are so well trained. The food quality is excellent, I feel, and the atmosphere is beautiful. It's just it's nice. But I do want to say that while we were closed, so many clubs in town offered and opened up their doors
That's
to
great.
Oak Hill members, and you got to thank them. Monroe Country Club, Irondequoit Country Club, CCR, the Genesee Valley Club. All these clubs opened up their doors to our members during the closure, and we dined at mostly all of them and had wonderful experiences, and they treated us like we were members of their club.
That's
and
great.
So hand out to all of them. So it was a wonderful experience.
The behind the scenes maneuvering and the camaraderie. I mean, like that must be diplomacy. That's a good word. The diplomacy that must have taken place to make that happen. That's
Yeah.
real. That's really.
And I'm sure we
wonderful.
would do the same for them.
Of course,
if it comes to that. But it's the clubhouse from the outside. It's going to look the same except for the new additions around the back. But it's the inside. It's as a brand new clubhouse. They spent about $45 million. So it's a major overhaul.
And to think, I mean, A, that's an enormous sum of money. B, the work that you've described, that's a lot of work to accomplish in 1 year, in less than 1 year. That took place in 9 months.
Yeah.
That's you must have had some great contractors.
That was LaChase Construction did the work, and beautiful workmanship.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Listen, this has been a great conversation. I'm going to wrap things up here by first of all thanking you, you and the family. You are stalwarts. You are pillars of the community. Your philanthropy, your kindness, your warmth, they resonate through all corners of this community, and we're so grateful for that. If you had one thing that you could encourage Rochesterians to do in terms of their engagement or in their involvement in this community, anything come to mind?
Well, I think get involved in something. You're like you said, you attend all these events, and you spread yourself around, and you learn about what everybody's doing. There's so many charities that hold events, and everybody's doing good work.
Yep.
And I think everybody, what they want to do is they just want to help people. Whatever the challenge is, if it's cancer or if it's homelessness or whatever it is, you pick something and make it your own.
Yeah. And we are a community that is incredibly philanthropic. Every once in a while, a new study will come out, and Rochester's always near the top of the list in terms of the most philanthropic communities in the country. And that's something, a legacy that we
Absolutely.
enjoy as a result of George Eastman and his benevolence.
And that resonates right into your business where people want to live here. And they need homes.
Yep, exactly.
So you can help them find them.
Yeah, well, if only there were more inventory. So, thank you so much, bud. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
Look forward to seeing you next week. Corey, help me out. I hope I didn't do too badly, bud. You're going to have to critique this and let me know. Have a great week, and look forward to talking to you soon.